Okay, hello. Welcome to another episode of Chris Sells His Soul, my weekly LinkedIn live show where I sit down with cool people who will help you work more creatively. My name is Chris Bogue, and my guest today is Sean Adams. Sean, please introduce yourself and tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah, Chris, this is awesome, man. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. My name is Sean Adams. I'm the head of sales at a software company called IORAD. We're a tutorial builder out there, helping people power their knowledge loop and get actionable, interactive content out to their different teams and their customers. So looking forward to showing you how I'm personally using video as an individual contributor and really looking to riff off of some of your ideas as well. So looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. Thanks for being on the show, Sean. And for the audience, if you'd like to find me, go find me on LinkedIn. Just look up Chris Bogue and ring the bell to get updates from me every single day. You can also find me on TikTok at Chris Sells His Soul and Twitter at Chris Sells Soul. The reason why I have Sean on today is because, like me, he's one of the few people out there doing video in sales. We both use Vidyard. And before I ask him any questions, I want to throw this out to the audience because I know we have a lot of salespeople and sales professionals and sales leaders in the audience. So if you're using Vidyard, just put something in the comments. Maybe it's an emoji. Maybe you say, I use Vidyard. Maybe you use Loom or Drift or BombBomb. But I want to see who here actually uses video in their sales. Okay, we got Chris, we got Travis. Oh yeah, we got people popping in the comments today. So Sean, you do video at a high level, and the reason why I like you is you don't talk about theory, you don't talk about imagining success, you don't pretend like you know what the future is going to be 2 years from now. You're very tactical, and you're using video in very practical ways. So, can you start by just letting the audience know how long have you been using video in your process for?
Yeah, I've been using it, I would say, for probably about 4 to 5 years now. So I originally started at a couple different software companies ago. When I had sold a small business that I was working in, I started doing some consulting work, ultimately worked my way into a full cycle sales role. And I found that the audience that I was speaking to were very blue collar small businesses. And they really, really liked it when I was face-to-face with them selling software. They were kind of offline types of people, and I just delivered so well in person. It just ended up not being scalable, obviously, and we were selling nationally and even in Canada at that time. And so I was like, I've got to find a way to get my face in front of them because they hate email. They don't like text messages, all these sort of things. So I started using video, and back then, I guess it was probably like Soapbox and some of the early Wistia products. And I just saw ridiculous results with how I would start conversations, how I'd kind of instruct people and give away different valuable videos on how to use software in your small business. And that's really where it started. And I got really comfortable with it. And I realized there was no difference between me having that conversation one-on-one in person. All there was just a screen, in front of us. And once I got used to the camera and that it wasn't that uncomfortable, it felt like talking to somebody at the bar, right? And that was really what helped me get over the hump. And seeing how well people really took to that video and the personality that came through and how they felt like I spent 30 hours putting together this crazy comprehensive video when all I did was click a button. They don't know any different. So they felt like there was high levels of production value. So it always delivered really well. And that's really where I started getting started. And that's why I leveraged it on top of it.
See, you do something that other people don't do, which is the thing that I do, which is you start with the people who are going to be watching the video. And that's how you got to do it. Because sales leadership, what they do is they go, okay, we need a process, so we need to do X amount of them, and we need to make sure we're doing it every day, and we need to make sure that they're not slipping on their outreach goals. And they don't even know the people that they're sending video to half the time. It's a list, and the list may not even be accurate. It may be inaccurate information. So they make these videos that are very generic. They don't feel very personal, and then they don't work, and they spent too much time making them. But you're a little different because you're playing with higher stakes. And I know, some of these accounts you've worked with, they're big accounts. And I think some people get overwhelmed by the pressure. They sit there and they think, I'm going to go out here, I'm going to look like a jackass because this person is, this company is more successful than me. They're bigger than me. This is a very important person whose time is valuable. So when did you make the shift from like blue collar workers to like going after these huge companies with these huge deals and sending them videos of yourself?
Yeah, so the shift really happened as I started to find some success in the kind of account executive role, which is what I was running first off. And I was using video in a multitude of different ways, which we'll touch on here today throughout the sales process. It wasn't just a prospecting tool, there were many, many other elements of it. And I was weaving it into follow ups and reminders and closing deals and hands off to customer success and implementation, these different things. And I really started to become a top performer there. I actually got recruited and moved on to a larger company selling larger deals and slowly worked my way up, and then got an opportunity to jump in here with IORAD, where they had a huge inbound presence and a lot of people interested in them, but no real sales process build out, no real department. We're a small company here. So it's kind of the first sales hire. And as we came in, I'm seeing these big brand names that you and I know very, very well coming in, and some small person was interested in some level of building tutorials or getting learning outside their teams, and they really needed help with kind of how to get this out, how to get buy-in across their organizations. And so, you don't want to just send some blanketed email to a big director or somebody from the C-suite. There has to be this level of personalization, and I'm letting the tool support my strategy and not the other way around. I think a lot of people just buy the fancy hammer at Home Depot and they're like, I got to go find a use for this. Where's the closest nail? And it's like, no, you have to build a wall and you pull a hammer out to build that wall, right? The tool supports the strategy versus I just have this thing. Now let's see where I can plug it in.
Yeah. They need to be able to see you and they need to be able to hear you. And for the audience that doesn't know my background, prior to this, I was an AE and I was selling education technology. I was selling AI-based lecture discussion software to universities. So it's a pain in the ass. It was a long sales cycle. These people do not like being called. They were all PhDs. The only way to sell to them was call them, visit them on campus, or visit an educational conference. And all of those got taken off the table by COVID. So I got on video out of necessity. And again, I didn't go in there just assuming that they would sign up for a meeting just because I had the nerve to get on video. I showed up looking like them. I actually saw some videos from the other sales rep from our competitor's company, of the sales rep that was trying to get their, trying to close them or whatever. And the professors weren't taking to his technology. And I'm like, ooh, how can I show up not looking like this guy? And he had the perfectly ironed shirt and the curly hair and the chiseled jaw. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show up looking more like a college professor. And I had the messy bookshelf and I put on a sweater. And I just kind of had this energy out there where I'm like, I'm going to hit them a little bit more on an intellectual level, because this guy's, there's a bunch of numbers flying on the screen. He's talking about ROI. Why don't I get him intellectually? I'm going to go look at what he researched and I'm going to go be talking about him for 30 seconds and I'll see if he bites on that. And yeah, I started getting interest from these people that I would never be able to see before. And I know we keep talking about video as an outreach strategy. It's because it works, you chickens. We'll get into that. And I know I promised the audience that we're going to talk about mid-pipeline stuff. And that is part of what we do. But basically, I recommend using video in any stage of the pipeline where it would be better to talk to them in person, because they might not have the ability to take a 30-minute Zoom call with you. They might not be able to meet with you in person, but they might be willing to give you 30 seconds. And I say don't go aggressive with the calendar invites. I've actually found it's a lot easier to use the video to make an impression. One strategy that I like is, like, if you have to go through a gatekeeper and, you cannot access your decision maker because they're not on LinkedIn and they're hard to reach. I like going in there to, like, set up the demo as an event. Hey, we're taking meetings later on this month with people. We need to talk to somebody in procurement or whatever department they're in. Our media team's going to send you a 60-second video if you're interested. Yeah. Then you can talk to them and be like, hey, what are you doing? You can ask your discovery questions. What are they trying to do? And now when they get the video, it's not a cold outreach. It's, hey, Sean, I remember we talked about this. Later on, if you want to have this meeting, here's what we'll be talking about. And now they just have all that context. And I find if you cold call them or you cold email them, their reflex is to shut you off. But you can slow them down with video. So can you share a big win? I always love hearing about the video wins. So what are some of your favorite wins, Sean?
One notable win from a recent experience was a very, very large Fortune 50 software company that I've been working for a while, trying to get my foot in the door. And they're so large, it was just very overwhelming. So I was like, I'm not going to try to overthink this. I'm going to sell one bite at a time and see if I can get my foot in the door and buy or build some champions. And so I had been communicating with one of these stakeholders for a bit, and we were on LinkedIn, and I was commenting on her posts and vice versa. And we got into a discussion that was around sort of what my products, what we help with, powering knowledge loops and building tutorials, getting interactive content out to teams. And turns out that's a lot of what she and her team spends their time doing. And as I was looking more into her content, I realized that there was a huge opportunity for us to help. I am a huge proponent. Now, I sell a software that is incredibly visual and easy to understand. In 30 seconds, I can show you and you can get the gist of it, and then the juice to start flowing as to how you can apply it. So I'm very fortunate in I can use a video very quickly to showcase this and plant those seeds and get people interested. So what I did was I didn't just send a video over to her and use some long-winded pitch. I see this all the time. And again, we're not getting into the prospect side yet, but the point there was I sent her a text, a LinkedIn text message and said, hey, I've worked with a similar organization in this partner space. I have some takeaways from that project, and I have those insights kind of summarized. Would you be interested in taking a look at those? Like, no sales pitch, nothing. Just wanted to share those with you. She's like, sure. Like, what's it going to hurt if you share a link with me? I could just not look at it, right? If it's not valuable. Yeah. So I was like, all right, now I make the video, right? Let her invite me into her space, into her inbox to actually be there. Yeah. So I go in, I make a video, spend about 3 minutes, and I built out exactly what I knew she was interested in. It's a big company, so I had a free trial of her software. I built that out in the video. I had all these templates and examples. I showcased the insights from the customer that was really successful. And I sent that over, and I was like, look, just take this. This is a template. You can use it. Take it for what it is. Really didn't even have a call to action. And because I'm playing the 10-year game here. I'm not playing the 10-minute game. And that immediately she booked a demo, like within 15 minutes. And she's like, also, I sent this over to my ABM team. And I'm like, this is how we have to be doing account-based marketing, because this is bullshit everywhere else. I see people just sending blanketed cold calls in the form of video, which is just nonsense. So basically that got us deeper in. We have like 25, 30 different stakeholders now. We should be closing with them within the next quarter. And it's a gigantic, big brand for us. And it all started through just building a genuine relationship. Video was a support mechanism. It was the medium that helped. But it wasn't just because I used video. It was because I gave something away. I put work in on the front end. I gave something out of my pocket that may have cost me, theoretically, just my time, but that was worth something. And I showed my expertise in her space. It wasn't like, hey, if you need help with this thing, you know where to find me. It was like, I'm making assumption based on what I've seen about you that you have this problem. I know someone who's had this problem. I've helped them. Here's what they took. Take that template, do what you want with it. And it was just an easy way to get that conversation going.
Yeah, well, you showed them the value. And what I'm trying to tell sales leaders is that sales leaders, like, I understand the need for process. I clearly have my own process here. But sales processes were designed for a different world. They were designed, like, the world changed very recently. It's changing very quickly. And yeah, you can't, like, when you spam people with the email and you put on the do not call list and they shoot down your SDR, you've just set yourself backwards, And what I've done is, like, so one, I pulled off a crazy stunt yesterday that I can't believe it worked. It worked too well. I asked people who wants a vidyard. I made a poll, and the poll had 4 response questions. It was, do you want to chat about a 90-minute content creation or sales strategy with Chris Bogue? Answer 1 was, yes, send me the calendar invite. Answer 2 was, maybe send me a vidyard. Answer 3 was, polls are cheaper than ads. And answer 4 was, did he just do that? And what do you think happened? I had 30 inbound requests. Right. So now I'm in the lucky position of, I have too many warm leads and too many inbound leads. I need to qualify them. So I'm using Vidyard to qualify them before I even reach out. So I just made a Vidyard saying, hey, thank you for taking interest in my poll. I'd love to be your friend. If you just want to be my friend, this is actually for you to buy my services. So here are my prices. If you still want to book the meeting, or if you still want a Vidyard, I'll send that to you. But if this is just a chat to get to know each other, this is a really busy week for me. But I was able to do this, and that took me 30 seconds to make that poll. pull,
Yeah.
right? And it just came flowing in. And what I'm trying to show people is that things are changing so fast. If you just improvise, if you are trained to look, where are the people who I'm selling to? Where are they right now? What are they doing? What are they worried about? You can see the problems that they're talking about because they will post about it. And you can follow their social media accounts and you can see the image that their company is trying to project. And if you just show up noticing them first, like we keep talking, and a theme that everyone's going to pick up on here is oftentimes a soft call to action is really helpful. And I pitch people who are way, way, way out of my league, people who are more rich and more successful than me. And I sent it to him saying, hey, maybe you'd want the training. I hope you'll consider this. I pitched Sean, actually. Do you remember I pitched you?
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you're killing it. Do you want an improv coach? Do you want the training from me? And Sean took a pass, but we stayed friends, and that's why he's here. But I found that when you put something out there, when you demonstrate the value, it's okay if they say no. Sean told me no. I told him, all right, I'll cross you off the list. Let's stay friends. And now I'm having some of those people come back to me. People who didn't, they're watching my stuff and they notice that I'm not hounding them and I'm not expecting their time. I don't act like I'm entitled to it. But I did ask directly. I did introduce myself formally. I did do a little bit of homework on them. And now I'm just making friends. Now I have podcast guests. Now people are inviting me to their network groups. And it's like business is just done differently now. So can you share with me, you've been doing this for years. Can you share with me any mistakes that you've made along the way where it's just you do not do video this way because you tried it before and it was just ineffective?
Yeah, early mistakes for me, most of them were too long. I would just go on and on and on. And I would try to bring every idea I could possibly think of, every personalization into it. It would be a 6, 7, 10-minute video, totally impractical. No one's going to watch through all that. And I would see that in the analytics that they would drop off at the 30% mark, the 50% mark, whatever. So that was a big one for me. The second one was just overthinking it, right? Like it's just like talking to someone in the cubicle next to you or at the bar, right? I just tried to think of it through that lens of you're not on network TV. Like the best case is 100 people see this video. And I guarantee you probably one person's going to see this video and that person might not even watch it. So like, don't overthink it. If you're going to put all your eggs in that basket and think that like, oh my God, if I don't have it perfect and my hair's not right and the book on the bookshelf is crooked, that shit does not matter. Like it really doesn't. People like it when you sometimes say and and it doesn't look like you tried it 37 times, right? Because that's how people talk to each other. It is very deliberate. You get the personality. You get the weird stuff that I do with my New Jersey accent and using my hands too much and talking too fast. That's part of who I am. Like I don't cover that up. It's just that's what people want to buy from other human beings. So early mistakes were that of like talking too fast and too long, but then also trying to be inauthentic to how I communicate. And once I just leaned into that and used the energy that I naturally get from being extroverted and enjoying conversations with people, I became a lot more natural on video. That was the easiest place for me to start.
Yeah, I think that was a big thing for me too. I tried to be too fancy up front. I was trying to throw like too many clever edits in. I'll still do stuff, but again, I found like simple, like this is personalization. And actually I sent out some videos like that where I'm just like, just for 2 seconds munching on a carrot like Bugs Bunny. And I'm sending it to a First Connect and they're familiar with my videos. So I can say, hey, you are enjoying my Bugs Bunny antics. You see I'm playing by a different set of rules out here. Would you like some training? Would you like a 90-minute session or would you like a coach? I can help you do this. And I think there's such a focus on being professional, but look what's happening in TikTok. TikTok is a worldwide variety show. And I always say the stuff on TikTok reminds me a lot of silent film. It's a lot like vaudeville. It's there's comedy skits. Some of it is very flirtatious. Some of it is, it's lip syncing, it's music, it's dance. And no one ever taught these C-level executives to be fun. Yeah. And, there's this, what I'm trying to do is square this circle, right? Because on the one hand, you have the stiffs who can't get out there and they can't be fun. And it's hard because they're too formal and they want a formal meeting for literally everything. And then on the other hand are the jackasses who forget that they're supposed to be at work. And it's like, okay, that's fine. That's funny. But like, come on, like we're supposed to be working here. Give me something that can help me. Give me something that's useful for me, not just a meme that you found. And I'm trying to do both where it's like, if you show up having fun, you can educate the audience and you can do that on TikTok, and the TikTok audience is huge. I have guests on who do TikTok stuff at a very high level, it's very effective. And it's like, you can make that content that's fun. You can make that content that's personal. You can make that content that's educational. And then you can use that in your marketing materials. You can use that on LinkedIn. TikTok videos from LinkedIn get great engagement here. They've been awesome for my business. And, you know, it's like, you have to figure out, is your audience on TikTok? And you've got to start thinking about, and I always say, you think about the person first. And then you said one simple thing. I asked myself, what is the one thing I want them to understand? What is the one thing I want them to do after this video is done? And it's not always give me their time. Sometimes it's go check out my videos if you're interested in learning more. You got to figure they're not immediate. Like, we all know that a sales process typically takes like 7 to 14 touch points or much more over the course of what, like 16 months, or I mean, everybody's got their different numbers, but it's like, you can't expect the deal's going to close the second you send out a video. You got to think, what's the next step, and how is that video going to get them through the next step?
Yeah. And if I can add on to that, the other issue that I have with cold outreach as a whole, I don't care if it's the phone, email, video, whatever, there's this anticipation or this, I don't know, just this understanding that they owe it to us. Like, they're on our cadence and we're interested in working with them. So why aren't they answering, viewing, communicating back with us? Like, this is a random person that you threw into a system who's never heard of you. And people just, I know it's been brought up a million times, but like, the lack of empathy for the person on the other side of the phone, the email, the video, LinkedIn, it just amazes me. Right. And they're always going, oh, well, they're looking for a tactic to get someone interested in a conversation. And yes, that is remotely what you're trying to do with cold outreach, but they're totally missing that they need to be a genuinely helpful human being to that other person.
Yeah.
And so people are like, oh, well, I used video and then I pitched them, right? Like, oh, I was going to send this as a 3-line text looking email, but I decided to send it as a video and it still didn't work. Well, it's still a pitch, right? Like,
yeah,
that's why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So what I always suggest to people, so I get pitched probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a day for like lead lists from Zoom Info and those types of things. I say to these people, you're sending the same exact message and you're just hoping that someone happens to be interested in the buying cycle for that. I don't sit around thinking about data intelligence. That's not something that's on my brain. But if you were to come to me and do the work, put the value in first. And what I say to them, and I'll message them back when I have time, is I'll say, look, if you were to went on my website and said, okay, Sean, he's at IORAD. IORAD's interested in other software companies. They sell to learning and development teams and sales enablement teams. All of this information you could find in 30 seconds. Go, okay, that's the audience that he's working with. If you went and made me a video of a list that you generated for me and said, hey, I've got these 100 C-suites that I think are in your target market. Some of them looks like they may have done X, Y, and Z that might be triggers for you. I just wanted to send this over your way. See if you might be looking for more things like that.
Yeah, no, you got it.
That's outreach. Like, it's not supposed to be, can you get 15 minutes of your time so I can tell you about a thing? Tell me about the thing now and show me. Don't tell me about it. And people miss this. There's a way to do that in every product and service, but you have to be willing to give the shit away for free or no one's going to be interested. You have to manufacture that value for someone. And that's where I think a lot of people miss it.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because it's time for our new segment, Gimme Gimme. You ready, Sean?
I'm ready.
All right. So this is this new segment on my show where my guest and I ask the audience for exactly what we want so they don't have to guess. And moving forward, you know, I don't want everyone to think we're just greedy here, but it is important to just ask for business directly. Let people know what you're about. Let's see, I want to get this tie straight. All right, there we go. And yeah, you can also ask for followers. You can ask for likes. You can ask for shares. You can ask for anything. But let me just finish up getting into costume. And hello, welcome to Gimme Gimme. My guest today is Sean Adams. Sean, to ask the audience for whatever you want.
Chris, good to have, glad to be here. Yeah, I mean, in terms of what the audience can do, if you're looking for any kind of sales content, talking about enablements and training reps, if you're out there trying to bring new people onto your tech stack, and you're really struggling with just trying to get scaled content and knowledge out to your teams or your customers, check out IORAD. It's IORAD, just like it sounds. Best place would be to connect with me on LinkedIn, Sean, Sean Adams, super simple name to follow. Always post about sales content, but we're also out there trying to help power that knowledge loop for people, get tactical and really interactive content out for your different audiences.
Wonderful. Stupendous. Check out IORAD. Follow Sean on LinkedIn. He's a great guy. And now it's time for my turn because I'm the boss and it's my show. Gimme. Huh? You people see me out here every day getting the laughs. Does this relationship ever feel a little one-sided to you? Does it seem like Chris Bogue is out here every single day making high-level content of all kinds and you're not paying him any money? Maybe you should start doing that. All right? I see all your little whining out there about how video doesn't work. Guess what? It does work. You're just not good at it, right? I want to ask you a serious question out there. I know we got some sales leaders in the audience today, right? So I'm going to give you a choice, okay? You got to go out there and sell your crap with your lead list, right? And you get to choose between two SDR teams, right? One is your SDR team out there pounding the phones. The other SDR team has two people. It's Chris Bogue and Sean Adams, and they're having a competition with each other for who can make the most vidyards. Which team would you rather have setting meetings for you tomorrow? I know which one I would choose. I would choose Sean. Right now, all you business people out there, you're all putting me off. You're all trying to discount me, and you can't get a discount. All right, it's $50,000 for the annual plan, right, and $5,000 for a daily, right, and we can talk somewhere in between that. But I'm not going to give you a discount because I learned from you, and I watch your SDRs complain about their vidyards, and I want to propose something to you because maybe cold outreach isn't dead. Right? Maybe the reason why your SDR's cold video didn't get watched is because your prospect already got a video from Chris Bogue. And he already got a vidyard from Sean Adams. And guess what? They were substantially higher quality and they were 45 seconds long, right? So you can sit out there. I'm going to get better every single month, but really you should pull the trigger because the first person who pulls the trigger on my monthly training, we are going to do an improv party every week. I'm going to teach you the Second City training. You're going to have amazing TikTok content and people will actually watch your vidyards. So yeah, reach out, send me a DM, book some calendar time. I set 30 demos yesterday. How much did your team set? Gimme. And yeah, that's it. So
I love it.
Thank you. And that's actually going to take us into our next topic here. So sorry, I'll take a moment to snap back into regular person. Haven't found a comfortable way to pop out a character yet. But yeah, tell me about. We're just going to talk about cold outreach anyway now. Screw it. We're better at it than everybody else in SaaS sales. So might as well give some knowledge that might be able to help, right? Because I wasn't great at it when I started. People didn't watch my full videos. I made a lot of videos that people didn't watch. I made hundreds of videos that I put too much effort into. So can you just tell me a little bit about your progression from being bad at cold prospecting with video to being better at it?
Yeah. I would say I've got lots of ideas for mid and end of pipeline stuff too that I want to make sure we highlight for some people. But the other piece would be from the cold outreach standpoint. Context is just super, super important. Mm-hmm. And as hard as it is, and maybe it's not the greatest thing in the world to stomach and hear, but the over indexing on the entry level SDRs to just be blasting out the messaging. I don't think this is going to be a strategy that scales super well. And one of the reasons why is because they just don't have any context or subject matter expertise in what they're selling, in the problems that they're actually solving for people. Everybody knows they don't have the product expertise, but they also tend to not have the industry expertise because they haven't spent any time in that space. And so first thing I would suggest is doing some customer interviews, sitting on demos, spending some time to understand the language, truly understand the language, the pain points, the things that your customers are saying. And if your organization is not providing them, ask if you can start to do some of that yourself. Like, can I interview a really happy customer, someone who's super successful and works well? Get some of those clips and blurbs and things that are really useful. And that way, when you're starting conversations with people that look like them, right? I mean, I know we only have limited control sometimes over what our sales org puts on our plate, but if you're really going to be successful, you have to be working with your team in that strategy. So if you looked at all the successful customers you had and you could carbon copy them and make those lists in LinkedIn or Zoom Info or whatever it ends up being, and when you go to reach out to them, make it hyper contextual, not just, hey, I saw you went to Penn State, go Nittany Lions or whatever, right? Like, it has to be more important than that. Some of the things I would do is what I mentioned at the beginning of this was say, hey, I worked with X, or we worked with X doing Y. working on this issue. I noticed that you're hiring 37 new customer success reps, and you can share your screen on their Indeed post or on their LinkedIn posts with all those jobs and say, listen, what we worked with this other companies to do X, Y, and Z. I had a couple of insights, a couple of new ideas. Here's a template of this thing that worked well. There it is. Like, would you be interested in talking a little further, expanding on some of these ideas? You can wrap that up in a 60-second video pretty simply. Or the other side of that is start with the text post, the text email. See if you can generate interest. Like, hey, if I send this over, would it be interesting to you? Can we share a little bit more content first, right? Before you ask for the meeting, before anything else happens, and try to really answer that question for them that's in their mind. You know that if they're in customer success, they're dealing with an influx of new business and not enough bodies to handle it. If they're in sales, you know that they're dealing with an issue of having far too many businesses to go after and huge quotas, and not enough able reps to kind of run all those motions. So once you know those pain points, you can kind of reverse engineer into the person you're trying to reach out to. But the content's got to be there. Is there a template that you can give them? Is there not necessarily a free trial, but just something of value that you can put in front of them?
Right. So this is part of and this is why I tell people, so many sales organizations get their reps demo certified. I'm like, you need to get them video certified. That is what I'm helping. Like, that's, when you hire me, I'll help you build a video process for certification, because what should happen is reps should not be allowed to use Vidyard until they can prove they can speak in the company voice and they can make videos that are short. And I think there should be a process where once you can see that they can actually do these, then they're allowed to start sending them to reps. But I recommend get good at video first, learn how to make a good video first before you start just blindly sending them out to a lead list. And what I actually learned, and this is a thing that people in sales leadership never do enough of. The reason why I'm good at video is because I'm very good at prospecting. I am constantly sending out new connection requests. And I do that based on the job title and based on what I'm going after, and also the personality type. I literally go look for the people who are talking about the things that I'm talking about. Right. And here's an example of that. I love the show Ted Lasso. I'm weirdly connected to Coach Beard from there. I made a video about it. Dare to Suck is the name of the video. And I noticed, I'm like, oh, I love Ted Lasso. It looks like a lot of people in the corporate world love Ted Lasso. So I started looking for sales leaders and CEOs who love Ted Lasso. And I just looked for who was posting about it. And if I liked it, I was like, hey, I loved your Ted Lasso post. And then when I released the Ted Lasso video next week, I wasn't sending them a video to ask for business. I sent them the Ted Lasso video. I mean, like, hey, I made this video about Ted Lasso. Thought you might like it. And some of them watched it and they're like, oh, this is so cool. And we started talking. Then they get put on a list saying, hey, this person fits the personality type. They like me. They know who I am. They know that I'm their kind of person. Now, when they get a 45-second video saying, hey, it's Chris, you want to do the training? I don't have to fumble around for words. I don't have to use a bunch of tactics. I can ask them for exactly what I want for them. And when they say no, I say, hey, that's fine. Thanks a lot. I'll note that you're not interested. I'm going to blow your fucking mind on LinkedIn for another month straight. And if you ever change your mind, come back around, And yeah, I'm getting some people who like, they said no. I'm like, hey, I'm part of their world now. I'm part of their ecosystem. And now they're looking at it like, maybe I should, maybe I should. Yeah. And it's like, I don't care if Warren Buffett, if I had talked to Warren Buffett, I'd be like, do you want an improv coach? I'm a good one. You probably don't, you're probably busy. But if you want to do Second City Improv, the training is good. Half the people from SNL went there because they still do it like the way they did in the 1950s. But again, it's like, I can only show up doing the Bugs Bunny thing because like, I know exactly who I'm talking about. And I can tell them like, look, I know you use Vidyard. I see that your reps are making posts complaining that your prospects are only watching 10% of the video. Yeah. If people watch my video, they're watching 100% or close to it, So if you'd like some help there, we should have a conversation. And I hope you'll consider, and then you follow up and you say, hey, did you consider that? Is this something you'd be willing to talk about right now? And I'm not being, squirrely Mr. Trenchcoat here, concealing my motivations. I'm letting them know, hey, I've identified this problem. This is what I do for a living. Are you willing to talk? And, I don't set out more than 5 videos in a day on Vidyard. If I'm doing cold outreach, I do 5, and I do it in less than an hour. It takes me an hour to make the 5 videos, to caption them, to upload the videos and send them out to Vidyard. And that's plenty for me. Sometimes that turns into 5 conversations. 1 or 2 turns into a lead. And again, if they don't respond to it immediately, I don't send them a breakup email being like, oh, well, I guess you're too busy. I guess we'll never do this. I'm like, they're busy. If they want to, they can get back to me in 2 weeks and I'm fine with it. But okay, here's the question. I want to talk to you about patience. Why do you think, and I feel like the old SaaS business, and again, this was developed for a world people were in offices on phones. There's such a franticness. And I feel like that turns people off. And like, what do you do? How do you build that urgency without doing the SaaS franticness that people have learned to just go and just ignore?
I don't think you can build urgency. You can only align with it, in my opinion. I can't make another human being really do something, right? And if you are, then that's breaking a whole bunch of other issues in the sales world that we should be doing, right? Because then you're misleading people, typically is the issue. My whole thought process around this and our strategy is that you need to align with buying triggers and where people are in their process, where they happen to be in their problem set or cycle, identifying that and working with it and just like accepting it, because that is the reality. You can sit and bitch and complain and worry about your quota and everything else. But at the end of the day, like, I can't force a Fortune 500 company to speed up their process for procurement. Or for having an interest in our software. It's just not going to happen. All I can do is be as helpful and supportive and resource heavy as possible. And so one of the things I try to tell reps is like, you have to go in as that neighbor, right? Like, you would never, ever think about an angle with your neighbor. If the person had a flat tire and they were next door to you, you just go over and help them. And then you'd be like, and then if you happen to own a mechanic shop, they'd be like, wait, you do this for a living? Oh my God. Next time I'll just talk to you about it, because you were in the vicinity, you were answering questions, you were being helpful, you were sharing resources. But if they never had another breakdown in their car, are you going to be upset with your neighbor? Like, no, right? Like, so you have to just be genuinely supportive and helpful, and it just comes back to you. And you just have to have enough lures out there in the water for it to work. And that's always been my issue with people, is they're trying to force people to do things. And that just never works, right? If I reach out to enough people, it takes sometimes 6-8 months to get momentum up, right? People are looking at their SDR track and they're like, in 8 months, I need to be an AE. And I'm like, okay, well, you're gonna have to make 12,000 cold calls and hope that you hit the right metrics and everything works out perfectly. Or instead, you can be super helpful for people, build genuine relationships on these calls and on LinkedIn and through your messenger, where I was just in a Slack channel, for example, right? You're in a community with these people, and someone said, hey, does anyone have a playbook for I think it was for like a LinkedIn Sales Navigator thing? And I just went into our software, a product that we use, like literally our playbook, and I just gave it to them. And I was like, here's a thing that works well. And like, ask them for anything, because like, I know eventually we're going to start talking about that. And we've talked before, and they were like, yeah, I mean, maybe next year we can work together. I'm not going to not help that person because they're not in the buying window, right? And it's not urgent for them, right? And so that's really what I try to tell people, is like, you can't force urgency on other people, right? There's things you can do to make sure people don't just disappear and sit there in analysis paralysis about your product, but you can't force them to buy. All you can do is make your product and yourself so attractive that they want to do the work to work with you.
I like to think of myself as a time traveler. And I tell people video allows you to time travel in the sales process, right? So imagine a scenario like this if you're in the audience, right? So I send you a video, right? And you look at it and you go, oh, he sent me a video. If I open it, I don't know. And then you put it off and you never do it, right? If you come back, so if you know, and because you're not ready to buy, maybe you got a different coach, right? And you're not going to be ready for a new coach for like 6 months, right? If 6 months you come and you see that I've been putting stuff out there and all the content I do is helpful and smart and funny and you love it. And then 6 months from now, you go back and watch that video. And that video is not me being pushy. That is me being calm. That is me being professional. There are large captions on the screen so you can see exactly what I'm saying. So clearly I put a lot of thought and work into this. And this is me talking very simply about them and how I'd love to meet them and how I'd love to work with them. That is a much easier message to respond to 6 months later than a breakup email saying, well, you didn't respond to attempt number 7, so I guess we're done forever. And, you know, like, how do you pick that relationship back up? Whereas like I find if you have these little strings out there, I say like, think of a sweater, you leave a thread dangling out of your sweater and you make it really easy for them to pick it up and just pull, you know? And if I throw you something, again, it's like maybe our business relationship fell off, but Sean was posting about Ted Lasso and I just posted a Ted Lasso content piece. I'll just send it to him, be like, hey, Sean, loved your Ted Lasso post. I just did one too, you know? And now we're talking about that. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, weren't we supposed to work together? All right, let's put another meeting on the calendar. Let's get this figured out. Or I found like, again, people hate the back and forth. People hate, and again, I blame sales leadership for this. Is like they have to create repeatable processes, and that helps for, you know, forecasting and things like that. But sometimes it's like you just have all these extra steps from years ago that are unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like sometimes you just have to go talk to people and just ask them. And yeah, I don't know. It's like you got to think about like even that email that the marketing team sends out that's, you know, generated automatically and it's full of language that you're not controlling. If they read that email 6 months from now, what are they going to think? You know, and you got to think about that the same way with your video. Like you're planting a seed and it might take a couple months to grow. And can you respect that? Or are you going to just try to force your way in? Because there's too many ways to shut you out, you know?
Yeah, the B2C world does this brilliantly. So we just purchased a new home and we're doing renovations and things. So I'm looking up blogs and like this old house and all these fun things, right? These organizations do a brilliant job. Same thing with like HGTV and the Food Network. They provide so much upfront value. They tell you literally step by step how to chop the onion and place it in and how much oil to put in and the spices. And on the house, they tell you which piece of lumber to use and how to paint it and cut the corner and everything you could possibly want to know. And it's just this overwhelming avalanche of value for you that you're like, God, I feel like I can do this. Like I feel empowered by this knowledge and I was not charged for it at all.
Yeah.
So guess what? Then I go to Home Depot and I'm looking for whatever, and I see this old house branded product. And what am I going to pick? I'm going to pick that one. The people that gave me a tremendous amount of value because I'm like, well, if they recommend it, I'm going to go with them.
You trust them.
Yeah. And it's like the same thing with the Martha Stewarts and all these other people of the world. They built these brands on thought leadership and helpful advice. And then when it came down to you needing a frying pan, you bought the one that the person has been helping you this whole time. Like it's a no-brainer. And there's no difference in B2B. I mean, there's some really great brands doing this. Like Dooley and Gong do a really good job of just like great articles, really helpful podcasts and pieces of content that are just like super, super useful for the end user. And then it's like, oh, you know what? I need X, to solve in my company. I should look at them. I think they do that. I saw that one article that was super helpful, right? And it's just like that reminder and those subtle hints of value. And you're not just beating them over the head with the sequence and they just give up, right? That's what I think the old strategy was. It's like, if I call them enough times, they're just going to want to take a meeting with me. And it's like, what if I built so much value that they just inevitably were magnetically pulled to me versus me having to be the one shoving them into some position?
Right. Yeah. I just show up in their living room and start talking to them like we're having coffee together. I want to ask this question. So Kim asked, do you find video is better with captions or not? So I want to address this because this is a huge thing that I'm telling everybody about. A big reason why my videos get watched is because they have captions. And if you know anything about content marketing, you know that captions are great for SEO. And the wonderful thing about captions is they're great for mobile. And you have to anticipate if someone's watching your video, there's a chance they might be on their phone. And the default on the phone is captions on, sound off, autoplay. So there is a chance. So, and it's human beings. They just know if they scroll and there is a person speaking to them, but there's no captions on the screen, pressing the unmute button is an extra step. Yeah. They have to press it. That adds friction to the process. So you are going to lose some percentage of the audience no matter what. And I have found that if you auto-generate the captions, most apps can do this. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube can do this. Adobe's auto captions are fantastic. If you pull the transcript, it is not hard to just fix the typing mistakes. And it's like, especially if you're starting out with video, it's going to take you too long anyways to make the video. So if you put all that work into the video and it doesn't get watched, you've just wasted all that time. So put an extra 5 to 10 minutes into captioning the video. Again, don't focus on quantity, focus on quality. But I would say if you like, not only deaf people, Think about someone on a train, someone with their baby, they've got the mute button on, but they want to hear your words. And if they scroll past you or they don't click on the video, the algorithm learns, oh, okay, this must not be a match for Kim then. She must not want to see this content, but that person might actually want to hear from you, but they just can't. And it's like human nature is just keep scrolling. So I always say 100% caption. I caption all my stuff. I write my own captions. People think I'm crazy, but again, I just don't think they're thinking creatively enough about video and strategy. So that's my answer. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on captions, Sean?
Yeah, I would agree. If there's anything public facing like that you're going to be putting on social media, definitely have the captions on for all the reasons Chris just mentioned. 100% agree there. If you're sending like a direct message to someone, I don't always take the time. Like I'll use Loom or Vidyard and send it directly to them. If it's a personalized email message that I'm sending to someone, I don't always take that extra moment to put the captions in and drop that in. That's just personal preference. I haven't had that many issues about that, but anytime I'm putting anything online, I'd always recommend the video.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, I figure it's like, I have this philosophy that like just SaaS companies they just burn through leads. They just burn through them, And I'm like, that's a human relationship you just tossed away. And again, it's like, if somebody tells me, no, I'm not interested in your services, that's just useful information as far as I'm concerned. But
Sure.
If they don't get my message because they accidentally scrolled past it, it's like, I am not like, the human attention span is a finite thing. And I have found, and again, this is TikTok, you go watch the videos on TikTok, the captions are huge. The words are appearing as the person speaks, and it's more powerful. And again, if you're trying to stand out with your Vidyards, Vidyard does support SRT files. So that's captions. And again, what do you think? If someone, there's 5 Vidyards in the inbox, and mine are captioned and they actually look. So every time I'm speaking in short sentences and the words are appearing and the words are powerful and you're reading it and you're hearing it at the same time. Like this one time where I have make or break to get your attention.
Yeah.
I might get you for the full 60 seconds. And again, you just gotta think like, so the algorithm is working against you. Situational disabilities are working against you. There are some people who just literally cannot hear. I'm a huge advocate of the captions. I'm going to throw it here. And thank you very much, Kim. Thank you very much, Siobhan, in the comments. We are getting to the end of the episode here. So I want to hear from the audience. Do you have any questions for me or any questions to Sean about using video, about problems you've run into or things you're curious about? We've done a lot of experimenting with this, and we've tried a lot of things that other people haven't. So you can ask in the comments. And then Sean, if you have any just unusual stories you want to, or discoveries you have, please share them now.
Yeah, I've got a couple use cases that I want to get into about middle and deeper down the funnel uses of video that I don't think a lot of people think about. So taking prospecting out of the equation, right? So let's assume that someone sets a meeting with you, right? That's a demo, a client conversation, what have you. One of the first things that I'll always do is use video as a reminder for an upcoming meeting. So what I'll do is I'll have a task automatically set when a demo or a session gets set. And it's usually the night before. And I get on, I spend 30 seconds and I make a video and I'll say, hey, Chris, looking forward to our conversation at 11 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Here's the link to the Zoom that we're going to meet in. That's the session. We're going to cover X, Y, and Z that you and I talked about and that you messaged on the forum. So looking forward to it. I'll see you then. And I'll send that as the reminder rather than just the automated HubSpot or Calendly thing, because people just blow those off and they forget about it. And it also warms the person up to your personality, right? It's like you knocked on their door before you were going to meet with them and shook their hand the night before, and then you got in the conversation. They're already going to feel comfortable walking in. Super awkward to meet someone in this virtual world. So that's one way that really helps warm it up.
That's awesome. Yeah. I found that too. I found, again, you think customer success, customer success is people who they are just dealing with the same problems over and over and over again. And I found sometimes it's like, you really need to get somebody on the phone. They're putting you off. They don't want to deal with fixing the problem. And yeah, if you need to get someone back on there, instead of like forcing them to go into a 30-minute meeting, you can just send a screen share and be like, hey, I'm sure this is frustrating. I'm very sorry for that. All you need to do is click in here and go in here. Yeah. And then, I've auto-filled some suggestions for you and you just show them. And again, it's like people, like meetings get put off or something. So it's letting them know like, hey, here's something I want to consider. And I want to talk to you next week. I think we should move. And it's like, you just figure out like, what's these little things? What are they avoiding? Where is the deal falling off? maybe we can just kind of fix some of that in here. Maybe that doesn't need to be a whole conversation, but I can demonstrate something and I can ask them. Or same thing with like legal kills deals all the time. It is easiest to talk person to person about complicated legal things, but if someone can't give you the time, it's a lot easier to get on camera and say, hey, here's the updates from legal.
Yeah.
You just explain it.
I do that all the time. So the two other use cases are after the session. So when someone has a sales call with you and they are really animated about certain features, they're like, oh, I really love that piece, or man, that was really helpful insight, or thank you for sharing that. You're recording the session typically anyway, and you can pull out those useful customer insights. So when you go to send that recap email afterwards that maybe has the recording of the conversation, maybe a recap of the pricing or whatever else, I will often record a separate video that's usually 2 to 5 minutes, depending on the length and complexity. And I'll go over the bulleted pieces that we covered. So you mentioned that X was a problem. We showed you how Y was going to help with that. You really liked X. Here's Y, showing you that again, those sort of things. And that way it's that visual experience, right? I think it's Maya Angelou, right? Like people will never remember the words that you said, but they will remember how you made them feel about it. So like if they're in that demo and they felt really good when they walked away, that's just enough ammo for you to continue the conversation. They're not going to remember the feature and the drop down and the name of the button on the screen. Like none of that matters. They remembered that something that you showed them sparked something and was helpful and they're interested in it. Show them that again. Video is great for reminding them. Breaking that out as a little separate video, a little separate resource. And rarely are we meeting with all of the stakeholders on one single call. What normally happens is someone goes, okay, Sean, this is interesting. I have 5 other people I need to take this to internally, and now I have to sell it to the rest of my organization. We want to be a part as the salesperson, the sales professional, helping them sell that throughout their organization. So what I'll do is I'll make videos, and when we're on the call, I'll say, tell me those other audiences. Oh, Mary's in HR and Susan's in accounting and blah, blah, blah. So just name the other audiences. I'll make personal videos for each one of those people, and I'll send that over and say, hey, one, you can just share these links of personalized demos I made off of our conversation. Or secondly, why don't you just use this and connect us, and I'll do a separate conversation with that stakeholder. Here's a video of exactly what Mary in customer success is going to be interested in based on what we talked about. Right. So now I've used their internal leverage. The video is helping bring my personality out, and that works wonders for progressing a deal.
So I say, so that's all amazing. One thing I would add on to that, and I tell people all this, is use the word energy more. Think about your energy. And I find video is useful for changing the energy that you put out there. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're trying to push the deal to the next stage and something falls off. And maybe it was you, right? Maybe you were a little desperate. Maybe you were a little pushy. Maybe you were a little aggressive. And they're like, you know what? Let's just put this on hold for a minute. If I want to make sure the last thing they think about me wasn't me being a desperate person with commission breath, I can make them a video where I'm sitting there calmly and nicely and being like, Sean, I'm so glad we got a chance to talk today. As we recap, we talked about this and this. Either way, just let me know. I really enjoyed meeting you. And now, 2 months from now, when they're going to be like, what was that Chris Bogue guy like? They're not going to remember that pushy thing where I got desperate and I got self-conscious. They're going to go watch that last video, and I'm going to look like a nice, inviting guy. And I want to use this to address Gail's question here. So Gail, the tall promo gal, down there. So she's asking how to transition to send them a video. So I sell to my friends. I will actually pitch my friends. People on LinkedIn are my friends. I'm connecting with people all the time. And I find that video is like a super easy, like if I had to go pitch Warren Buffett, that would be terrifying, right? Because I'd have to sit there and look at him. But if I had to pitch my phone and send it to Warren Buffett, I'm just sitting here at home comfortably. So I find it's much easier. And again, you can do it in a not pushy way. Gail, you can tell your friend like, hey, I'm a coach. It's a little uncomfortable sometimes to ask your friends for money. But if you wanted to have a conversation about that, I think I could help you. So, and the thing I do, my no pressure way that I do it for people with my friends is I send them, because again, I've got a lot of friends who are just richer and more successful than me, and like they're awkward on camera. They need a coach. So I'll send them a video saying, hey, how you doing on the carrot? And then I'll say, here's why I think this might help you. If you want to talk about coaching, respond to this message with anything at all. You can send me an emoji. and I will send you my calendar times, and then we can have a chat about this. If this is not in your wheelhouse, you could send me a thumbs down. I'm not going to take it personally. I'm just going to know you're not interested in the coaching, and I'm not going to ask you about it anymore. And I've gotten like 2 thumbs downs. That's the only thing I've got. I mispronounced a guy's name and he got furious about it. And I was like, oh man. But other than that, I usually get a message saying, hey, Chris, I'm really not looking in the mood for this, but I really do enjoy having you around. Thank you for asking me. And I find that they're actually grateful for that when you offer it out there. And some people surprise me. I didn't think they would say yeah. And they just shoot me a thumbs up, you know, and now we're talking. But I find you have to make it as easy for them to say yes as it is for them to say no. And you have to be okay. You have to control your emotions enough to be okay with either answer, because the real answer might be they're just not ready right now. And it might be a better fit later. And they're not lying when they tell you that.
Yeah. And Gail, I'm not sure what you do specifically, what your offering is, but I would let your past successes, past clients do the speaking and selling for you too, especially if it's a friend. No one wants to feel like you're eroding or leveraging their friendship to get deeper down. You should work with me because I'm better than everybody else because you know me. Like that doesn't feel very good. But if you're like, hey, totally understand. Like, listen, here's Mary. She's actually in a kind of similar situation, you know, because you know your friend, you can make references, you can make assumptions about them and say, hey, she was kind of in the same space. No idea if this is relevant at all. It's totally okay if I'm off base here, but just wanted to send this your way. If you're ever thinking about it, you know, here's their success and kind of what we're working on. Had a couple of ideas specifically for you just because we're close and I know what you're dealing with. All right. That like makes your client do the selling for you and not you. And I find that is like a level of separation, and it can really help to not impact your friendship.
Yeah, that is a good point too. When I have a friend who, you know, is interested in coaching me, you know, I just, you know, trick you. Well, one, you sell the meeting, not the product, right? So I always say like, hey, we could talk about this. I see you're doing video. I think I could help you build that out. You're starting a company. I could help you build your sales process. And then when we get into the meeting, you know, they're giving me the permission to sell them, right? I'm saying, would you like to have a conversation where we will talk about this formally? So we do. And then that first 10 minutes, I don't say much. And usually the first question I open with is, hey, Gail, you know, what role does video currently play for you? What are you currently doing with video? And usually the person tells me about what they're doing. And I say, you know, what benefits has this brought to your business? Tell me about your customers. And then I say, okay, here's what I could do. You know, here's where I think I could bring some value. I could help you do this. I would advise you to do a monthly plan, but if you wanted to do a 90-minute session, I could help you with X, Y, and Z. And then the question I end with is there any reason why you wouldn't want to do this? And I just let them talk. You know, and some people don't have the confidence to ask that, but it's like, if you're too expensive, if they feel too awkward, you know, they'll tell you there. And again, you want to have a real conversation. And if they say, no, thanks, just be like, hey, that's cool. And make sure you're not hounding them. Make sure you're not pestering them, but continue being a good friend. And don't change the way you treat them just because they said no, because, you know, saying no, that could be for anything. It doesn't have to be you. You know, there's a million reasons why someone says no to a salesperson, and it isn't you're bad at your job or you're bad at what you do. So we got one more question here. We'll ask this and then we'll end our time here. But Siobhan's asking, what's the advice for someone starting out who doesn't have past clients and past success, asking as a content creator? So you want to take this one first, Sean, or you want me to take it?
Sorry, I didn't see the question. So she's asking about if you don't have any customers or like testimonials to work off of.
Past clients and past success.
Asking as a content
so
creator.
I think Siobhan, because Siobhan is a very good content creator.
Okay.
So I'm not asking, I don't know if she's like trying to sell her content to people. But you don't have any of those, you can't sell those success stories. What would you say to a person like that?
So again, I'm assuming that you're a content creator, like you're selling your service to make content for people, to curate content or something like that. It's actually a pretty simple one. You can showcase your service before they buy, right? You can give your service away for free. If you're brand new and you don't have any customers and you have no groundswell going on and no name in the industry, go to the people that you're interested in working with and build them content for free, right? So let's say you're building something for me. You go on, you realize I'm interested in bourbon and golf and whatever else, and you curate some articles or you make some content. I don't know exactly what you do, but you put together what something would look like if I was a customer of yours, super bite-sized piece. You don't have to spend a ridiculous amount of time on that and give the crap away. You have to build goodwill.
I'm going to jump here just because I know Siobhan personally. She is very impressive, and she's an on-camera personality. She does a lot of work with her group Industry Explorers. So she is rigging, and she's up in contraptions and, up several thousand feet in the air. She already has a ton of video content. Siobhan, if I were you, one, I would send out more connection requests. I would start being just keep adding people to your LinkedIn feed. And whenever someone connects with me, I say, hey, great to have you in my network. I make funny videos. Here's one of them. And I send them a funny video. I just leave it there. And if you started connecting with people and you just left a sample of your work and said, hey, I'm Siobhan, I do trade shows. I talk about women in industry. Here's one of my videos. Some percentage of people are just going to click the video and start talking to you. And you might have a customer. But we are out of time here. So I'm going to give you one last opportunity, Sean, to tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah, Chris, this was super fun. I really enjoyed the conversation. LinkedIn is the best place for me. It's really the only social platform I'm really on. So again, Sean, S-E-A-N, Adams. You'll see I have a little pink background. IORAD is the company. It's IORAD. So if you're interested, if you're ever having to explain how to do something digitally online, whether that's to a coworker or to an employee elsewhere, a partner, or an end customer about your software, your product, your process, whatever it ends up being, we have a way to basically capture your screen really simply and build super interactive, easy to consume tutorials. So yeah, thanks for the time. It was really, really great to be able to be here.
Thanks. Hey, thanks for being here. And look, Siobhan said, you made me realize that I do have past success. Yes, you do. Especially the women in the audience. Don't tell yourself that you aren't worthy of people's money or time. You are, trust me. And if you want to find me, again, click the bell on LinkedIn. That's how you'll get all my updates all the time. You can follow me on TikTok at Chris Sells His Soul or on Twitter at Chris Sells Soul, or check out my website, ChristopherBogue.com, if you're interested in my coaching plans. And be sure to check out the show every week at 3. Pretty soon I'm going to be dropping the audio podcast from Todd Clouser's episode last week. We did sketch comedy together. He's hilarious. And the audio episode with Sean is going to be coming out soon. So Sean, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Chris.